The Whole30 diet is a 30-day eating regimen that alters your eating habits. However, the method, created in 2009, needs a lot of willpower and meal preparation. Be sure to watch the video in its entirety to find out about the dangers of the Whole30 diet. Consider it the first step in a 12-step program. Step 1 is to eliminate many food groupings from your diet. For the next 30 days, no grains, dairy, alcohol, or sweets, save fruit, are permitted in your mouth. The premise of this highly radical plan is that once you've completed it, you won't be as addicted to sugar as you once were. You'll be able to better decide which foods are okay to eat and which make you feel bloated or moody by reintroducing potentially inflammatory or stomach-upsetting foods into your diet one at a time after the deprivation month is over. Unlike many fad diets, Whole30 is marketed as a whole lifestyle overhaul, not merely a weight loss plan. The emphasis is on avoiding processed meals and avoiding sugar for 30 days. But be warned, it's not for the faint of heart. All sweets, even maple syrup, liquor, quinoa, legumes, soy, and dairy are prohibited. It's a lot more radical than paleo. However, the idea is that if you make these adjustments and stick with them long enough, you'll lose your desire for processed and sugary meals. Given that most of the foods on the Whole30's no-no list are common in the ordinary American diet, your body will go through nutritional shock once you begin. The first 2 weeks are tough. Hard to break a habit. It's difficult to break a habit because it's precisely a habit. One of the most proven behavior modification approaches, according to social scientists, is replacing an old habit with a new one. Are you tired of swilling booze? Instead, try putting something different in your mouth. Do you want to quit smoking? Chewing gum may be beneficial. However, momentarily attempting a new diet and then crashing hard after 30 days of restriction is a near certain method to revert to old habits. It's a lot simpler to get things done when you make them a habit. Your body takes its cues from you and your actions. While trying to break unhealthy eating habits is desirable, nutritionists believe this strategy goes about it the wrong way by giving a temporary cure for what should be a lifetime relationship with food. It takes years, not months, to develop new dietary habits. 30 days isn't enough. It is a mistake to believe that it takes 21 days to quit a habit. It might take anything from a few days to a year to break, depending on the habit. That holds true for both your stomach and your intellect. According to experts who manage stringent, short-term diets for patients with digestive problems such as celiac disease, a month is insufficient to switch off systemic inflammation. Instead, it takes around 3 months. Whole30 might be a bad diet for you. Because meat and eggs are the primary protein sources in this diet, it might be a high cholesterol diet. The cleanse is also heavy in salt. It also excludes whole grains, which can help keep you full, and beans, which are a low-cost, high-fiber, calcium, and protein source. Time-consuming. Diet researchers know that human behavior, particularly when it comes to eating, is impacted by those around us. It might be difficult to stick to a stringent diet like the Whole30 when no one else in your life is following it. So, if you're going to take on this task, you might want to convince a friend to join you. You'll be able to cook food together and support each other along the process. A lot of meal planning and prepping is involved to stay on track, which can be very time-consuming. No room for error. If you make a mistake and consume a forbidden meal throughout the 30-day program, you must restart from the beginning. So, let's go back to the beginning. That rigid method could work for some people, but it contradicts everything we know about self-control and willpower. Moreover, shaming isn't usually a good way to motivate long-term improvement. Perhaps nowhere is this more evident than in the short-term weight reduction contests and reality TV shows like The Biggest Loser, where the vast majority of dieters regain all of the weight they lost, if not more, in the end. When the Whole30 is done, you're on your own to find out how to gradually reintroduce previously forbidden items into your diet. According to the creators, the Whole30 regimen is intended as a short-term nutrition reset, not something that should be followed indefinitely. That's a shame, because eternal diets are the only ones that can benefit you in the long run. Some people may find Whole30 effective if they are searching for a short, temporary solution to weight loss. But it's fine if you're not interested. You can experiment with a variety of additional eating in moderation approaches. For example, Dietitians frequently recommend more Mediterranean-style diets, emphasizing satisfying whole grains and vegetables. Fake euphoria. It's usual for dieters to get into a rush upon starting a new clean eating program, and Whole30 is no exception. When you just consume fresh, healthy foods, you feel less bloated and lighter, which adds to better mentality. However, the exhilaration is temporary and generally fades after a few weeks on a diet, so don't hold your breath for it to last. Hunger. Feeling good about your responsible health selections gives a way to an overpowering desire to shove food into your face within a few days to a week. As a result, people frequently struggle to find ways to satisfy themselves with the items allowed on the Whole30 diet. Combining fruit with nut butter, for example, can aid digestion and prevent blood sugar spikes that come with eating fruit alone. After a few weeks, this one may start to fade. Others, on the other hand, can sustain it throughout the diet. Sluggishness. You're exhausted with aching joints and a persistent headache that won't go away. Caffeine and ibuprofen may cover the symptoms, but they don't address the underlying problem. The major reason is that you're restricting carbohydrates, which might lead to ketosis depending on how low you go with carbs. After all, processed foods are one of your body's primary sources of carbohydrates or energy. This will lessen over time as your body learns to break down fat into ketones for energy. However, it's a dreadful procedure. Moodiness. It's no wonder that moodiness is on the menu when hunger and sluggishness are present. You're grumpy for the first 2 weeks, especially since carbohydrates are a key ingredient in the production of serotonin, the brain's feel-good hormone. So focus on activities that will brighten your mood during this period. Get a massage, take a bath, anything to take your mind off your hunger. Stomach problems. It's a good idea to consume a lot of vegetables. However, doing it all at once, like on the first day of Whole30, generates a significant increase in fiber consumption. What is the issue? All that fiber might make you feel bloated. Different fibers have different properties. Either it bulks you up, causing constipation, or it speeds up your digestion, causing diarrhea. Your stomach issues will subside as your gut adjusts to your new fiber diet, but in moderation. Increase fibrous gas-producing vegetables like broccoli and Brussels sprouts. Guilt. Because it's so limited, this is a really difficult diet to keep following. As a result, individuals cheat a lot and feel guilty when they fall off the wagon. Guilt is one symptom that does not improve with time on the diet. How pumped are you to try Whole30? When deciding if the Whole30 diet is good for you, there are certain drawbacks to consider, as with other prospective diet plans. The most noticeable drawback is the full exclusion of dairy, wheat, and legumes. Dairy and grains, in particular, are 2 of the 5 main components of the My Plate guidelines from the United States Department of Agriculture. Therefore, wheat, rye, barley, oats, corn, rice, millet, bulgur, sorghum, amaranth, buckwheat, sprouted grains, and gluten-free pseudo-grains like quinoa would all be prohibited on the Whole30 diet. Depriving yourself of these nutritious dense grains, particularly whole grains, will lower your intake of fiber, vitamin E, iron, folate, magnesium, B vitamins, and even some protein, all of which are essential components in our diets. In addition, according to a specific research, whole grains have been associated with a decreased risk of heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and more. The findings confirm existing guidelines for higher whole grain consumption. Similarly, legumes like beans, chickpeas, lentils, peanuts, and soy foods provide several health advantages and should not be avoided. As recently reported, legumes, when taken as part of a balanced diet that includes lots of fruits and vegetables and whole grains, are connected to decreased incidence of prediabetes. Unless you have a dairy allergen or intolerance, there is no scientific reason to eliminate the dairy food category from your diet. On the contrary, the USDA recommends dairy products in your diet, such as yogurt and milk. Dairy foods are high in protein, calcium, potassium, and vitamin D, and have been associated with better bone health, lower blood pressure, and a lower risk of cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes. Unsweetened dairy items, such as plain yogurt, should be avoided, while high-calorie cheeses and butter should be used in moderation. It's best to concentrate on the items you can eat rather than the meals you can't. We recommend concentrating on complete foods, lots of veggies and fruits, whole grains, proteins, and healthy fats if you want to reset your diet. Also, consider removing added sugars and making a concerted effort to consume less processed meals rather than eliminating harmful ones. Let us know if you have done or are willing to do the Whole30 diet in the comments.